I've been getting the emails. Where's that guy? I don't know. I haven't seen him in weeks. When's he coming back? I don't care. I'm gonna do a woodworking project. A woodworking project? You can see it's got the tongue and groove milled into it. It is actually flooring. This came from a friend of mine. It's solid cherry and it's beautiful wood, and it should serve very well for boxes. Now we've got cherry at 3/8 of an inch thick, we can move on to actually making the box. Got 3 boxes, 3 box bottoms. Let's go ahead and assemble these. The easiest way to assemble them is with my best friend, packing tape. And we'll just do a dry fit first to make sure we haven't messed anything up. Looks to me like we've got a pretty good fit there. One of the things that's really nice about these little boxes is with the plywood in there, they pretty much square themselves up. As for clamping, another little piece of packing tape here against the last corner. And that's all there is to it. take off the packing tape, sand everything, put a nice finish on it. These are done. Ooh, what are these? Closed up shop for the night, but he left these. Let's see if we can have some fun with them. Okay, so here are our three lids. We've got a dollar symbol, a cloud, and this one that's all primed and white. I don't think we need to worry about those two, but this one needs a coat of black paint inside the dollar symbol. Cool. And I got some paint outside of the dollar symbol, but it's not the end of the world. Honestly, that was the reason why I put 3 coats of lacquer on here, on both of these, on this one and the cloud, was so that any of the paint or the resin that gets outside of that design shouldn't bleed into the wood fibers. So while we're waiting for the paint in the dollar sign to dry, let's move on to the cloud. Now for the cloud, we're going to use cotton balls. Resin has been warming up in the sink, should be nice and ready to go. I don't imagine it's going to take too much. So we'll just do a small amount, 2 ounces of resin and 2 ounces of hardener. And today I'm going to be using art resin. I think it's what I typically use with the cotton ball projects. It seems to work pretty well. I put out a number of videos about alternative pigments, and one of them that we found that worked really well was sidewalk chalk. And all you have to do is just break a piece off into the mortar and pestle to a very fine powder with almost no effort. These that I've got are pastels, but you can get it in lots of different pigments. We should get a really pretty blue. It's not going to take very much. I'll pull some of these apart. Might only take one. Sheesh, yeah. One might be more than plenty. And that's maybe, well, I can tell how much I got left in here. That's an ounce of resin. 1 cotton ball and an ounce of resin. That's all we've got here. Doesn't look like much, that's for sure. Actually, it looks like too much, if it looks like anything. Let's take some of that off. Start with a little less. This recess is only 1/8 of an inch thick, deep. We want it to be a little proud of the carving, and then we can sand it flush. Yeah, that looks like a wet Muppet. Let's have a look at the next top, which is this one here that has been painted white. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a resin pour on that. We still have 3 ounces of resin here, so start with that. This isn't a huge canvas. It might not take very much. And if we need more, well, guess what? We have more. So the colors I'm going to be working with today are actually these Just Resin fluorescent dyes. You've seen me use these before. I really like these particular dyes. Violet one, which is violet. That makes sense why it looks like violet. And then this blue one, which looks like blue. It's all making a lot of sense so far. And then the last one, which I presume is orange. See, look at that. Everything just makes sense. This isn't going to take a ton. It's a very small piece. On a canvas this size, you have to be careful. You don't want to overdo it. I'm pretty sure my woodworking counterpart is going to be so excited to see all this resin on his maple. Pretty sure that's going to thrill him. And we'll just give it a really light pass with the heat. Don't want to overdo it. There's just not much there. Let's pop some of those surface bubbles. There we go. All right, so the dead Muppet and the art resin piece is drying. The money paint still looks wet on that. Okay, I think we're good for a little while. We'll come back out and finish up on the last lid. So this is a dollar bill cut out on the CNC, and what I want to do is I want to fill it up with some shredded money. Now, I want to thank my viewers for sending me out shredded money over the years. I've got a large Ziploc bag of it that was sent out to me by a viewer. I actually have £5 British banknotes that were sent to me from Paul in England. But 2017, I got a package from Phoebe and Lucy. Apparently her sister was going to visit colleges and they were at the Museum of Money in Chicago, Illinois, and she picked up some Fed shreds, as these are called. My sister is now insisting that we make stupid puns about your show, so here's what she came up with. We yarn for you to make a project out of our Fed shreds. We resin the fact that you may not, and if you do, we hope you have fun dipping into this project. Would you please use the Fed shreds? I mean, how can I resist? I totally have to now. So let's go ahead and open up one of these packages here. So when dollar bills here in the United States get too old, banks send them back to the federal government and they are shredded. And as most of us spend our life looking to gain money for survival, it is quite amusing to hold probably thousands of dollars worth of shredded money in our hands. And if you look closely, you can actually see some of the writing and pictures that you recognize from the dollar bills you've been hunting your entire life. So what I've done is I've just put a small amount in a Dixie cup, and I don't think it's going to take much more than that, if I'm honest. And I'm going to pour some of my resin right over the top of it. Kind of looks like what your cat does after they eat grass. You ever seen that? Do you have a cat? After your cat eats grass and they decide that they're done eating grass, they usually come inside the house, pick the most expensive section of carpet or a rug, and then throw up the grass all over the floor. Because cats are jerks. Just pop a few of those surface bubbles. Look at that! We made a happy little cloud out of cotton balls and chalk. And I think I even hear birds in the background. This is like a Bob Ross video. A happy little cloud. And for a finish, I like to just use a little wipe-on polyurethane. Easy to apply. Works great for cherry. Those will dry. I'll put another coat on the outside, 2, 3 max, and that's it. And you get to see the beautiful maple and our super interesting cotton clouds. I really like it. Quick safety tip, do not wad up your wipe-on poly rags and throw them in the trash can. Spread them out on the concrete floor. Let them dry out there. Next day, resin has dried and it is sanded and we are ready for a finish. So I've got my silicone mat and I discovered you can put a popsicle stick right in between the grooves and it's actually a perfect little drying rack. One reason to have one of these awesome mats. A little wipe on poly. Oh. Wow, that looks great. Phoebe, Lucy, thank you very much. Appreciate the Fed Shred. And here's the art resin top. You can see I actually sanded the edge on the belt sander. I didn't show that because I was too busy trying to remember to breathe. I didn't want to set up a camera, but it worked out pretty well. Actually wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. I think it gives the top a really nice finished look to it. What you do now is wait for these pieces to dry. And we're done. I think it's supposed to be like that. Right? Like that. Yeah, that's the way it is. There's just something about an empty box that calls to people. Before YouTube, I would make and sell boxes like crazy, and I never had trouble offloading them. Someone would always pick them up, look inside the empty box as if to reassure themselves that there was room for whatever they held valuable, and they would say, "Charlie, I need this to put my cotton balls in, my money, my art supplies," whatever the case may be. There is something within us that yearns for an empty box to put stuff in. Cotton and resin is one of my favorite materials. You've probably seen me use it numerous times on this channel. It's such an interesting material and it will just get better with time. In addition, I've done a number of these resin pours. These are really fun to do. If you've never done a resin pour before, I would definitely suggest giving it a shot. You can't mess it up, and I really like this clean beveled edge that you get when you go ahead and sand it back. And last but not least, the money lid, which, I mean, it looks so interesting. It really gives it an illusion of depth with all the pieces in there. Super excited to do another project with more shredded money. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was really fun to try a variety of ideas, plus just going through the process and making sure that I still in fact do know how to do woodworking.